for taking some time here today with us. My name is Paul Odell. I'm with CPP Associates. I'm a partner responsible for sales. I'm sitting here with Mike Maher, who's the Director of Professional Services at CPP. And today we wanted to talk to you briefly about the most pressing topic in the IT/cloud space today, and that is Broadcom's purchase of VMware. And oh wow, what a power play. It's been unbelievable to see this unfold. And Mike Maher wrote a great blog the other day about it. And today we want to talk about it. So, Mike, power play, unbelievable, right?
Nuts. Absolutely bonkers what they're doing. I have to tell you, in the last few days, the conversations I've been having with OEMs, with partners, with customers, even with our own sales team, everybody's in agreement, right? VMware seems to be operating in bad faith, or Broadcom does, right? The sudden change of skewing, the sudden, pulling of partner relationships, the upheaval in the OEM community, and the general level of uncertainty and fear in customers right now is, palpable is a good word, but real, right? It's out there. And, I think they're creating such disruption in the market in a bad way that they're opening the door to other solutions and, competition unnecessarily for themselves. But I think that benefits the industry overall.
Mike, what do you think their strategy is, right? Do you think that, is Broadcom's strategy to recoup as much of their purchase price as quickly as possible and sort of and burn every bridge, along the way, and because this is going to make, in my opinion, it's going to make cloud adoption happen faster. But I'm curious what you think their overall strategy is.
It's unclear, right? I think recovering their spend is obviously top of mind. But outside of that, I really genuinely think it's unclear. They have a substantial portfolio, right? They have security products like Symantec. They have, they make network interface cards. They make fiber channel cards. They make fiber channel switches and network switches. They really touch everything within the data center, to some degree, right? So they're one of those, organizations where we look at it from an IT space and we go, wow, that might be a too big to fail kind of a thing. But I think unfortunately, it's also put them in a position to be not just the 500-pound gorilla, but maybe the 5,000-pound gorilla. So,
yeah. Think about the leverage that they have right now, right?
Yeah, there's certainly there. I think they're over leveraged within the IT space, but I don't think they've taken into account the the pushback that they're going to receive from the user and partner communities overall.
So, Mike, specifically speaking, what are some of the things that what are some of the things that we know that they've said publicly that they're going to do, regarding, product rationalization, and we already know that you mentioned about the OEM contracts and stuff like that, but what about product rationalization?
Well, it's such a moving target right now, right? Even their own links, they're saying, well, we might do this or we might do that, but we know that perpetual licensing is done, right? They literally put a stop to that and said, we're done doing it. Everything is going to be subscription licensing going forward. How they license it, whether it's still per socket or core based, we don't know yet, or maybe we do. Maybe that information's out there, but I don't have it. So I want to be very careful about what I do say, right?
Well, the marketplace, it's ambiguous right now. There's not a lot. They're just doing sudden movements.
Right. So any information that I do have right now, and I did some reading this morning, in preparation for this, it could change. Right. And again, there's so much at stake and so many people, pushing back against this that we don't know what kind of effect that's really going to have. But they are doing some interesting things with bundles. Customers that, were using VMware, on the smaller side of the industry or at the SMB space that were looking at the, Essentials Plus packages or small standard operations, that didn't need things like NSX or vSAN. They may be forced into purchasing those things.
Yeah,
it's entirely possible through some of the bundles that they have. So
that would be vCloud Foundation, right? They're going to have to buy the whole. Yeah. Well, at least that's what they're saying publicly. Who knows what's going to happen?
So we may have customers that end up having to spend more money on infrastructure, right, unnecessarily, and end up with something like shelfware, right?
So the bundle price would be less expensive than the bundle price today, but if someone just needs vSphere, they're going to have to buy everything else.
Yeah, and I don't know what cost would look like, but I mean, certainly
Yeah.
if it was just buying, vCenter and some ESXi licenses, right? They're going to spend more.
What if you're like a Carbon Black customer or a Horizon customer? I mean, holy
Oh, no, that's interesting.
moly.
So
And we have a lot of those, right? I mean, that's really choppy water right now.
That's scary. First of all, I would say if you're a Carbon Black customer, jump ship now, right? Look at SentinelOne. We're SentinelOne partner, right? But I mean, there's so many good options.
CrowdStrike, right? I mean, we don't really sell a lot of it, but like I mean, there's other next generation endpoint protection.
Get away from Carbon Black, right? We have not had good experience with that product to begin with, right? And just the installation management, uninstallation, and things of that nature. I mean, my team reports back to me all the time that it's a mess. But that notwithstanding, VMware said we're done with we're done with Carbon Black, and we're done with Horizon. So first, if you're a Carbon Black customer, run, don't walk, run to the next best thing. And if you need guidance, reach out to us. But
right.
In terms of Horizon, that's more interesting to me. Because Carbon Black, that's just we're done, goodbye.
Right.
But Horizon, I think, we don't know what's going to happen with that because it's such a massive infrastructure, play.
If you had to guess, like, what part of the like, I know that in your blog you talked about VMware's market share, but if you had to guess, how much of the VDI market share does Horizon have? What do you think?
I don't know. Honest to God,
it would be a good thing to look up, right? It's probably got to be 30% of the market. Has to be
at least. I mean, candidly, I'm a little embarrassed, but that I don't know the answer to that question.
About it until just now, right? So, like,
let me explain why, right? Like, I mean, I've been a Citrix guy for a very long time, right? And Citrix has, by and large, been the market leader in VDI and application delivery, right? Horizon, stepped up, and I mean, I've worked with Verizon, I've worked with Horizon on and off for over the years. I almost said Verizon. By the way, not the same. But I have worked with Horizon on and off over the years, and it's gotten better and better and better. It's a great product, right? And they folded in a lot of interesting things to it. And we have a number of customers that use it. We have a number of customers that want to use it. But right now, they don't know what to do because they don't know what's going to happen with the product, right? I mean, personally, I have my own suspicions, in terms of who might buy it. But
think about it, right?
That's purely speculative right now.
Like, think about what happens when a company says we're going to sell you, right? And then think about who the potential suitors are, right? And always one of the potential suitors, it could be a private equity company that's looking to just literally pick the bones dry and let the company go away, make their 50% on the investment in a couple of years and move on. And that could be the end of it. Or it could, or maybe it goes to a private equity company that has a long-term play, right? Which would be a great potential fit. Or it could be, go to another OEM, right? That has a deficiency, right? But
now
there's 5 or 6 different scenarios, and a couple of them are horrible, right?
Yeah, but I don't think
I love how Broadcom's behavior is so far. I mean, they're going to go to the highest bidder. That's all they care about.
So I think horrible is potential, but I don't think probable. I think probable is another OEM that I want to be careful not to name, but it's going to lead us into the next part of the discussion anyway. Right. Because you said the key word, right? Where there's a deficiency.
Right.
And, when we talk about where, the different players are in the market in terms of, VDI and application delivery and things of that nature, right? We really need to start thinking about Microsoft.
Yeah.
I touched on it, and by touch on this, I hammered on this.
Yeah, no, this is a big part. This is a big part of your blog, right? How it's a very valuable alternative, and quite frankly, it's an offset to the leverage. Right. So why don't you tell me about your thoughts on what Microsoft's doing, not only within Azure, but obviously very importantly within Azure Stack, right? Because I mean, ultimately, in my opinion, is that the world should be hybrid. When the world is hybrid, leverage is evenly distributed. If a customer gets over their skis, there's leverage. If a particular OEM gets over their skis, there's leverage. So you really want to figure out a way to spread it out. in a way that could be managed. So why don't you
Yeah,
talk
I mean,
about, like,
so what's the easiest way to say this? Everybody has something Microsoft, right? Whether it's mail, I mean, with few exceptions, right? And we have customers where they sort of do and sort of don't, but they still have, Windows desktops, they still have, some virtual servers, right? But almost everybody universally has something Microsoft. And what Microsoft is doing and has done, I mean, they really built a force to be reckoned with Office 365, right? And that was, if you go back through the history of technology, right, probably the single smartest thing, that I could think of in the as a service space, ever, right? Um, and that had morphed into Azure, right? And consumption-based compute and network and security and storage, and cloud-based computing. And now, right, Azure Stack HCI, right, and Azure ARC are two of probably the most important technologies that we can really be talking about. Not just because of the potential for Horizon, right, and where that might go, but also for the potential to displace VMware at the infrastructure level on premises, right? Because you really hit upon it, right? Most customers want some type of hybrid scenario, and candidly, most customers are already hybrid. If you're a Microsoft 365 shop, you're likely hybrid because you're using, Azure AD Connect, which is now Entra ID, right? To share, Active Directory attributes with Office, with Entra ID, so that you can log in universally across, on premises and, Office 365 applications and mail. But now, I mean, you can actually, bridge that divide, right? So that you can authenticate to, applications within Azure and VMs within Azure and things of that nature. So, that's an important step. But what Azure Stack HCI does is it brings Azure on premises or wherever you want it to be, right? It doesn't have to be in your own data center if you want to get out of the data center business. It can be in a colo. It can be through HPE, right? It can be, really literally anywhere.
hold on, it's Mike. It could be with CPP. Come on.
Well, of course it's going to be with CPP,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Because
All
we
right.
can because well, listen, we're infrastructure anywhere. That's the whole point,
Right.
right? Which is we don't care where it lives. We can design it, we
Right.
can build it, we can run it, and we can co-manage it with our customers in a way that delivers value to them. But here's the most important part about where Azure Stack HCI really starts to separate from VMware and adds value to the customer, right? That VMware tax that they're paying right now, right? And by the way, just to level set, I've been a VMware guy for a very long time, and I absolutely love the product. I hate the messaging from Broadcom, right, and where it may potentially be going. But people don't want to pay the VMware tax, right? When they have and if they have an alternative like Azure Stack HCI, where they can use their existing EAs and their existing licensing agreements with Microsoft and the software that they've already paid for, right, and they can roll that in, right, and save a substantial amount of money year over year, manage it like they're managing Azure, like they're managing Office 365, and give themselves sort of that unified platform. They can upskill, and and I'm trying to look for another upward, but there's really not one, right? But save money at the same time.
So, Mike, I love where you're going with that. And, I try and think about, and I know you and I have spoken about this concept of systems of innovation
Hmm?
and systems of record, right? And the concept is that systems of innovation have wide degrees of variability, right? You might be spinning them up, you might be spinning them down, they might go away, they might explode, they might, it could be, who knows, it could be an application tied to a Super Bowl ad that needs to be ready to jack if it takes off, right? That's systems of innovation, right?
Hmm?
I think that that's a great use case for Azure public cloud.
Yeah.
Systems of record, if you're a mature company and you have accounting systems, you have applications that have been around for more than a minute, and you could actually do a proper trend analysis. I view those as sort of systems of record. It could be HR doc. If by the way, you should SaaS as much as you possibly can, right? I think you and I both agree with that. SaaS until your eyes bleed. SaaS,
Yeah.
But if there's applications that aren't SaaS and are systems of record and not systems of innovation, which, oh, by the way, Gartner kind of says about 70% of the overall data, then why wouldn't you do Azure Stack? Like, is there any logical reason not to do that? Like
No, not really.
you
I
have,
mean,
you get where I'm going, right? I mean, maybe you
yeah, I
want to.
mean, you're talking about you're talking about the marriage of both, right? And the ability to manage it through a unified, infrastructure. And, let's be clear about what systems of innovation really is, right? It's disposable workload. Right. It's something that you're going to learn from, something that's going to be around for a short period of time, something where you might need to retain some knowledge or some structure or some documentation or a way you might have built something. But in all reality, right, it's disposable workload. It's not going to be perpetual. It's not or persistent. It's not going to last, right? And the systems of record, the day-to-day things that run our businesses and allow us to be profitable and grow and contribute to society, and both, economically and socioeconomically are vital
Yep.
to, how every business either makes money, and shares information with other businesses. So, why does Azure Stack make sense? Because you can do it at reduce risk, reduce cost, and you're not really, and you don't have to worry about, running out and learning anything new. Because in all likelihood, you already know how to manage your Microsoft workload. So why not manage it just that much differently, but give yourself the ability to scale infinitely, whether it's on premises or in the public cloud.
Yep. Well, Mike, thanks for that, man. So I do want to give a shout out to Matt Axtell because it was in my discussion of HPE, really one of the best GreenLake, the HPE's cloud option, GreenLake, one of the best champions of that solution and an overall good guy. He, in
Yeah, Matt's a great guy.
numerous discussions I've had with him, talked about the, systems of innovation, systems of record, and he really educated me, quite frankly, on it. It makes a hell of a lot of sense.
Oh, he's a great guy, and if you get a chance to listen to him, I mean, he is probably one of the highest energy people I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, he's a good dude. Yep. So Mike, as we sort of, by the way, everybody, just so you know, we purposely kept this underproduced. Like, so if you see in light hit my shiny head, I'm trying to avoid it, but
So the
the
roll up
idea
video
is
of the month.
to do this once a month or frequently as hot topics arise. So you just have to bear with, we're being ourselves, right? In our real setting where we work day to day. The last thing before we sort of wrap up, if a customer wants to engage, like how do we get engaged with clients? Like what is can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. I mean, we'll meet you where you're at, right? And I don't just mean that technologically, right? I mean, that's an important thing to say, right? We'll meet you where you're at, which means if, we'll want to get an understanding as to, what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. But I mean, it's as simple as reaching out to an account manager, connecting with us on the website,
Right.
finding us on LinkedIn. I mean, there's 100 ways. We might be to our own, to our own, personal risk sometimes. We might be the most reachable people on the planet, and I think that's a good thing.
I mean,
But
the calls we take in the evenings and then in the weekends and the holidays, and so
listen,
I
our
get it.
team just rescued a customer over the weekend, and it was a long, long, hard slog. But we had
It
folks
had to
around the
happen.
clock working on it to make sure that
Yep.
they were up and running, and the customer,
Kudos to the team.
did
Uh,
not. The customer didn't lose data. They didn't miss a beat. They weren't down at any point in time, right? So I mean, we do good work,
so yeah,
and our team cares.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's reach out to us in any way, email, text, chat, Teams, but through the website. Like I said, we'll meet our customers where they're at,
Yeah,
where
and
and show them where we can take them.
definitely. And then we like to we what we do ask though, if you do reach out, is understand. We ask you to understand. We're going to ask a lot of questions, and we're going to try and do a apples to apples assessment. Where should your workloads reside, and really think about that honestly. And I view what what's going on in the marketplace is almost like a blessing, right? Because if you think about where CPP has really launched its ships, it's with Azure and it's with HPE. We are full or high asserted partners with both of those orgs, and Azure Stack is the sort of meeting place for both. So I'll leave you with this. If you want to learn more about what we're thinking and about where the marketplace is going, we are having an event on February 8th at the Capitol Grill in New York City. So if you're within arm's reach of New York City, you might want to try and get there. It's in the late afternoon, and we'd love to have you attend. But Mike, any final thoughts before we break? Otherwise, I think it's time to
I would
let
say
the viewing audience go.
I would say this, right, guys, which is one thing I'm really proud of, right? I mean, outside of how talented our team is and how dedicated we are to customer outcome, is how dedicated we are to making sure that our customers don't overspend, and that should never go unsaid or unnoticed. Because I think there's a lot of opportunity right now for potential partners and vendors to come in and talk to customers about why they should spend so much money doing X, Y, and Z. And that's not our mission, right? Our mission is to help our customers make money by saving money and doing things the right way, and delivering value wherever we can, to ensure that that our customers continue to get the most out of their technology and the relationship with us, right? So that's where I would leave it.
All right, man. That sounds good to me. Mike, thank you, man. And I'll work on the lighting next time.
You can borrow some of mine.
I'm gonna have to block out the sun. All right, everybody. Have a great day. Okay. Thank you very much for spending a few minutes with us. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.